Welcome to Momentum Magnet, a podcast to inspire your growth. I'm Karen Morales, and your host in helping you find ways to make positive changes for your business, health, relationships, and life. We always have a path to a happier ending, so let's get started today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 71 for me in quarantine. It is the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, and we have had quite an adventure over the last few months. Some of us have businesses, homes, children homeschooling, and a lot of unanticipated life's ups and downs. There's been a lot of silliness and fun during the COVID season, but also hard times, challenges, and misaligned expectations. We're all facing new norms, new routines. I alone in my home have had the online school schedule changed 4 times since March. It's made it difficult to balance being a working mom and helping elementary age children learn. We have client needs that are changing. Our economic future is shifting. Our eating habits are even different. I don't know about you, but I've bought about 5 new kitchen appliances, including the infamous air fryer that has taken over Amazon.com. And I would say that is a definite thumbs up recommendation. But today we're really here to talk about how do you thrive through this uncertainty. And today's guest is Maria Terol. And the wonderful thing about Maria is she has been an asset in my life and someone I met through the Tony Robbins community almost 3 years ago. Maria is a lawyer, a master coach, and a leadership consultant. She worked with Tony Robbins as a master coach and business results trainer, and she is now the founder of the Terol Method, a coaching and mentoring company. She has overcome childhood trauma, relationship issues, and today she coaches some of the world's top talent in mastering their environment to drive success. Today she's going to have a conversation with us about how do you thrive in times of uncertainty. Welcome, Maria. How are you?
Thank you, Karen. I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, today we are going to try to give our audience some ideas on how to best achieve success in these crazy times. So I know that you've worked over 20 years as a corporate coach. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those experiences and how your work with Tony Robbins has really influenced you on how you serve your clients, especially now?
Sure. Well, I've been really blessed in my professional experience because I have had the opportunity to coach people in very different industries, positions. I've coached hundreds of business owners. I've also coached directors, managers, and C-suite people in a very different industries throughout the world at international organizations. And the beautiful thing about such broad experience is that you realize that at the end of the day, we're all looking for the same thing, right? We're all looking for fulfillment and success. And to address your second question regarding Robbins, the impact that Tony Robbins has had in my coaching, I wouldn't know where to start because Tony is the master. He's the master of simplifying things that are really complex in nature, right? Human nature. So I've taken his simple and powerful tools. I use them every day with myself and my clients. But I would say that the biggest impact of his approach to serve all my clients is the emphasis on psychology first. You know, without the right mindset, without the right emotion, without the right perspective, it is really, really hard to create a strategy that works or even to implement the strategy, right? So I would say that would be his biggest impact in my coaching.
Yeah, and I can attest for the coaching myself that Tony Robbins has done. I know that Maria and I had our paths cross about 3 years ago when I was going through my own life transformation. And it was the work that I started with Tony Robbins and Maria that really helped me refocus. You know, that work took me from a place of being really a sad, broke, unemployed single mom going through a divorce to now 3 years later, a thriving business owner on a health journey who's really building a life, or I'm building a life that I love. And a lot of that started with a conference that I took that Maria actually suggested that I attend. And that was UPW in New York City in 2017. Now, as part of all of the Robbins experiences, they're pretty intense, right? I think we can say that, Maria, right? We don't sleep, you don't eat, you freeze yourself completely. And completely, right? He makes these buildings so cold in order to keep you awake, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I know. So as we go through those experiences, you really try to unpack some of the things that are holding you back and how to make positive movement forward. So that's one of the reasons I thought you would be such a great fit to talk to today, Maria, because you helped me get my life unstuck. And I know a lot of people are feeling that way today, feeling stuck with the COVID crisis and not knowing what to do next. So can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the ways in which this has felt hard in your own personal life? Being in quarantine for 2.5 months and homeschooling, working.
Yeah, the homeschooling. Oh my gosh. Well, we have all been disrupted by the pandemic, right? I mean, I don't think there's a single soul that hasn't been disrupted. But I think we have all been disrupted in similar ways and in different ways. The similar ways, you know, the staying at home with kids has been a challenge for every single parent. If you have them in school, it's because you have to be supporting them with schooling. But if they're toddlers, you have a different scenario, right? That's another different ballgame. And I'm glad to report that I'm not in that case, because my clients who have toddlers have had additional challenges. But anyway, the schedules change, the vision changes, it's the word here, the word for the pandemic is change. That's the word. So if you don't have a perspective that allows you to be comfortable with change, you're going to struggle. The moment you go into a perspective that allows you to be comfortable with change, you are okay, right? It's just, I'm telling everybody, and I tell myself every morning, it's okay to be in change today. I'm curious to see what is going to change today, because it's just the nature of what we are experiencing.
Wow, that's interesting. Are you finding a correlation between the folks that are keeping an open mind about the uncertainty that we're all living with right now and thriving, and the folks that are maybe trying to fight and find the answers that maybe don't exist?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, because there are trends that we see in people that are struggling the most, right? And I would say that the first thing that gets us stuck is wanting things to be the way they were. You know, when we get stuck into why can't I do it like I did it before? Why isn't it the way it was? You know, so getting stuck in that place of wanting things to be the way they were is the worst thing to get, you know, to stop moving forward. So we fail to embrace what is, right? We fail that the opportunity to move forward with the opportunities. But another trend I would say is another trend that guarantees struggle is failing to see the opportunities, in the uncertainty. I have to tell you that the people that are really thriving are those that are looking at the opportunities. And I would, that what's interesting, I'm sure you see this all the time, is that folks that struggle hang up with people that want to struggle. They get in these tribes of complaining, and the impact that the people that you hang up with are going to have a huge impact in your energy and in your perspective.
Wow. That's really impactful. And I've definitely seen the impact of that theme in my own life. I know you used to tell me years ago to better my life, improve my circle, right? Because your life expectations and the way things play out usually is a sum of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. I know that one of the largest things that I think helped me build a business that was successful and scalable was only surrounding myself with information about people who had crushed businesses and created mini empires from nothing. So when I was starting a business in 2017, I just didn't listen to anyone in my life that gave me that it's risky, aren't you afraid, maybe this isn't the right time mentality. And I only read all of the stories from people that had done it. So I know that that's impactful. And I guess I'm wondering, are you asking folks in these times to kind of think about all of the businesses and people that have been born out of times of great uncertainty and depression? So for example, Airbnb, Netflix, a lot of these big companies, even Whole Foods, started after a recession. And that is a way for people to think differently about the opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, the uncertainty is the best soil for innovation, for creativity, for growth. It's precisely where great ideas happen, where people become better, where we grow. I mean, uncertainty equals growth. That's it, right? So either you use it or you waste the opportunity. We've gone through crises before, and after every single crisis, we've seen things in a lot of sectors improving, right? So it's looking, leaving the fear behind and looking at this time as opportunities. And what I find, Karen, is that people get uncomfortable with change. We all are uncomfortable changing, right? But you can be uncomfortable in the unknown and stay there, or you can keep going and moving beyond that fear and being okay in the uncomfortable until you figure out what's next. And it's the moment that you step into that next that you start getting creative, getting innovative, and looking at, using your resources. And one of those resources, as you say, is information. Maybe not reinventing the wheel necessarily, but looking at people who have done it, getting inspired by businesses and by people who have done it before you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think something that you said was pure gold. Uncertainty is the best soil for innovation. And I think both of us have reinvented ourselves a few times. And it's right. And it's all happened after crisis. And I think that's something that people overlook. Usually, since humans are not, as you mentioned, really wired for change, it takes a big action or a big perceived danger or something they don't want to drive to a better future. I mean, I can say without doubt that every big move in my life was definitely preceded by something that I didn't think I wanted at that time. Mm-hmm. So all of my big moves were in response from walking away from a feeling or a situation or a relationship that no longer served me. So I think that is a great way for people to reframe, to think about what can this quarantine and the COVID crisis teach you about what you're ready to leave behind and what you'd like to add to your life in the future.
I love the way you put it. I couldn't agree with you more. Crisis brings growth. Crisis cleans us up. It makes us better. And you know, Karen, when you were saying this, I was thinking of childhood and adult development. You know, because as grown-ups, we think that this is it, and there is a change, and we get scared about the change, but look at children, right? Children are constantly evolving. And when they get into a tween, preteens, there is a shift. And then when they get to teenagers, there's another shift. And when they become young adults, there is another shift. And we look back and make nothing of it. Well, of course, this is evolution, right? Why are we so caught up in thinking that, you know, now we're 30 or 40 or 50 and this is it? No, it's just we keep evolving, right? So I wouldn't say that the preteen or the teenage years are a crisis, although they can be perceived as such, but by many parents, right? But, you know, there's shifts in nature, shifts in the environment allow us to get to where we need to go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So maybe that's a new way for the audience to reframe, you know, 70 days in some cases, this entire crisis. What are the opportunities that you have to make this a launching pad to something better? I've witnessed in my own life, within my family and within my business and within our client portfolio, some really beautiful trends. I think there's something quite significant about all of our acceptance of families as part of the whole of every individual and every employee. You and I talked in our preliminary call about how many CEOs we've both experienced with, you know, children interrupting meetings with their underwear on, or, you know, swords, or, you know, dogs barking, or people feeding babies on conference calls. And in the past, that was something that all parents, male, female, would apologize for. And I do think that that is beautiful, the balancing of work and home, or saying, hey, I'm going to take this next call as a walking meeting because I haven't gotten my exercise in. I think that that's going to change the fabric of our culture a bit in a very positive way.
I'm with you. It's all creating the psychological safety that we have been talking about in leadership for years. You know, how do we create psychological safety? And we're getting to the core of it. You know, being able to show up with your vulnerability at home. Even, you know, I had a client this morning who had to show up in his pajamas on a Zoom call. I was like, okay, that's fine, because that's not really what matters. And maybe the pajama is a little bit extreme, but it's not really what matters, right? We are getting to what matters. And I have to tell you, I'll share with the audience just because it was so inspiring. This client is an incredible professional, and he had a partnership with that was a 20-year partnership. They had to dissolve the partnership because of the pandemic, and of course he went through the fear and the uncertainty, right? But this morning he showed up in his pajamas with a very concrete strategy that is beyond innovative, and that is going to disrupt his whole industry. So that's, you know, precisely, you know, the what's the opportunity. It's focusing on what matters. Innovation, creativity, resources is not how you show up or in the call with your tie or in your work environment. This is the opportunity to focus on what's driving your success, inner resources.
Yeah, your contribution, not just your external appearance or way that you show up, is really making a difference. I've done some unofficial polls of my clients across industries, and I'm finding a really interesting trend. I'm wondering if you're seeing it too. I'm hearing from all of our clients that they're feeling like productivity is actually up, with 100% of the workforce working remotely. They're finding that teams are actually delivering more. Are you seeing that too in your leadership coaching?
Yes, it's an interesting trend. We were all, when at the beginning of the lockdown, a lot of business owners were worried about productivity at home. And but I share the experience with you. People are happily surprised at how productive their teams are working remotely. I think we are more focused when we are at work. We're not being you might be interrupted by a child or something else, or a dog or a cat, but for the most part, we are very, very committed to staying put with what we're doing, to creating environments that help us be productive at home.
Right. I actually saw an article this morning come out of Forbes, and they did a survey of, I don't know, maybe a few hundred employees across the United States. And 45% of the respondents actually said they would be willing to take a 10% pay cut to be able to work from home permanently.
Interesting.
Are you hearing that in the executive coaching that you're doing, that there seems to be a return to these more diverse and distant workforces?
Yes, a lot of clients are realizing that they don't need such big real estate to sustain their businesses. So I have clients that are closing, that are not going to renew their leases, right? Because they're having such a great experience with remote work. Every single industry is going to change, and it's going to affect obviously the real estate that they use for business. I didn't hear about a cut in salary, but I'm sure a lot of people would be willing to take it, because the amount of time that we waste commuting and the risks now that we take commuting are not worth the compensation. So once we create the balance at home between life and work, I do believe it is a much healthier way to go about your week. Being able to spend much more time at home, and because think of the quality of life, right, that it gives you. I mean, you've worked from home, I work from home, we both worked at offices. If you had to tell me that I had to be commuting, I would be willing to take a cut as well. I wouldn't change it for the quality of life that it gives you.
No, going back to a full-time job in an office space is something that I will never do for the rest of my life, without a doubt. I mean, I know we did our preliminary prep call when I was on the Peloton earlier last week. That is where I spoke to you from my exercise bike. So those are getting to be,
and that's what,
the norm. It works.
Yeah. Well, and I had a call yesterday with somebody who was who works at an international organization here in Washington, and he was a walking desk. right? And he said, I've lost 10 pounds since the pandemic started, and I'm on my way to the next 10. And he's doing his coaching call and other calls with his team on that treadmill, but why would you change that? And the good news for him was that this bank is not going to open its doors to employees until the end of the year. So big shifts for everybody. And I think they're for the better.
All right. So one of my most discussed topics, not only with clients, but with friends, is how do you handle working from home and homeschooling? Both you and I have school-age children in the elementary years. Both of us handle the homeschooling as single parents while working. So what kind of lessons do you have for how to better balance that if it's to continue into the 2020-2021 school year?
It's all about balance and about realizing what is still a statement. It's all about balance, right? But I'm getting there. This balance is a pull and push, a push and pull. Okay, it's not what we were doing commuting, or sending the kids to school. They disappear and they come back, and then you're full mode work and full mode parent. I believe the key here, or what has been working for me and for many clients, is to have shorter stretches of time designed, address or where you're shifting attention to work and when you're putting your attention into your children, right? So it's an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours here, 2 hours there, whatever works for the family, right? But I think even though the work day has been extended for a lot of people doing this, it's the only way to be full with your full attention at work and your full attention with your children. So I believe the key word here is agility. And it's the agility of focus of mind to be able to stay at work for a period of time and then shift quickly to your children and back and forth. That's what I think is helping most of my clients. How are you doing it?
Wow.
How are you keeping the balance?
I think that's a beautiful realization. I have found that putting specific time where I can help the children with their work is definitely important, and going over my schedule with them the night before to set expectations and align about how available I can be and when has definitely helped us avoid some of those Zoom meeting interruptions and background screaming sessions that were part of our early pandemic lifestyle. I've also found, to your point around expectation and agility, that it's important if you're balancing work and home and chores and multiple children to check in with the one that is the least needy. I realized last week that my daughter, who has been more independent with her schoolwork and less requesting of my time, was actually feeling a little bit ignored because she wasn't the most vocal about wanting help. So now I've made it an occasion this week to really ask her every day if I could just sit with her while she works. And that has turned around her feelings in this situation a bit, because she was feeling like she was getting, overlooked based on her brother being a bit more needy.
Sure. I talk at home about a team the same way I would talk about a team professionally. When I was thinking about this balance a few weeks ago to do a presentation, we talked about leaning in, right? So when we are parents and we are working, you need a team, and that is more true now than before. right? So I have family meetings the same way you would have a corporate meeting, right? So in the family meeting, we go over schedules, about expectations for the week, about times when I'm not working, times when they're supposed to be doing homework, and on and on. So family meetings is another way to create that team support that we parents need from our children and that our children need from us.
Oh, that's beautiful. What would be your recommendation, keeping with that mindset that you treat children like a part of the team with equal rights? So as we go into the unfolding of CDC guidelines for the next academic year, and there's a lot of discussion about how that may look and feel differently than it has in the past. What is the best way to steward children through those conversations? Is it better to wait till we know for sure what's coming? Or is it better to kind of take them on that journey and let them understand that there may be increased uncertainty and changes with how they see their school setting in the year to come?
I think it's a good thing for kids to be comfortable in being uncomfortable with not knowing. I think we do a disservice trying to give them certainty. We don't know what's going on with a lot of, what's going to happen with a lot of our, our businesses or with school or with our family. And even though, children are different and they need more certainty, I think we want to give them the certainty from home, from the fact that they're being loved, the fact that they have a roof over their heads, the fact that they can always count on you. So find certainty in the day-to-day, but not in what's going to happen next year. We don't know what's going to happen next year, and that's okay. But we make it a bigger deal than it really is for them. Kids are adjusting. I don't know your kids, but I see my kids adjusting. And when they ask, well, what is going to happen? It's like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. It's okay, because we figured it out for the last 2.5 months, and we're going to keep figuring it out. What's matter is that there's certainty and safety here today at home.
Right. You will continue to be loved and you will be supported, and school will happen, and we will make sure that we have fun, and what that looks like and how you experience it may change, but we've gotten this far and we'll continue to do it. That's a really great way to bridge those conversations with children of all ages.
Yes.
So
it happens tomorrow, right? Tomorrow and the next day and maybe next week. But longer term, when we focus on long term with children, and even for us, it's just really doesn't really take us very far.
Doesn't take us anywhere but to a dark place. So if you were to hear from someone in our audience who said, Maria, I just need your best tip to feel unstuck right now and to get myself into a place where I feel like I'm making momentum, where would you tell them to start?
Yes, that's an excellent question. I am a true believer in the power of questions. Okay, if you are stuck and you need momentum, I would say, first of all, ask yourself, what is preventing you from moving forward, right? Where do you want to go? So get clear on your outcome first. What would be the ideal vision for your business, for your life during this time? If that's too far out, think of a shorter period of time. What is ideal for this week? How do I want to feel this week? If that's too far out, think about today. Today, how do I want to feel? And what would make me feel that way, right? And if you are finding obstacles, ask yourself, what is preventing me? When you ask that question, what is preventing me? Most likely you're going to find an obstacle that is based on fear or some sort of attachment. I want it to be like it was yesterday. Or what if this, what if I fail, right? So again, first of all, get clear on how you want to feel and where you're going. If you can't do it long term, do it short term, a week, even a day. Then ask yourself what's preventing, trying to identify the obstacle, and change your story around it. To change the story around it, ask better questions. Well, what would it give me? What would it give me if I decided to show up, to fail, to give it a try, to do things differently, right? What can I get excited about? So ask yourself powerful questions that are going to get you to a better place. Because the what ifs that we are asking ourselves when we are stuck keep us going down the rabbit hole.
That's beautiful.
If you want to reach out for powerful questions, I'm happy to connect with whomever wants more powerful questions and brainstorm.
Great. So how would our listeners be able to get in contact with you directly if they wanted to take you up on that offer?
You can send me a text message to my cell phone. That's 202-841-1831. Or you can send me an email to maria@mariaterol.com. And I'll be happy to support you.
That's amazing. So if you would like to follow up with Maria, please do so. We will make sure that her contact information gets into the show notes. You can also find her at mariaterol.com. And we thank you for your time today. I know that so many people have had some challenging life experiences during this time. I know I did. I actually broke both feet early on in the crisis. They have since healed.
I remember.
That's the way to take quarantine to the next level. But as we move forward and as we deal with this uncertainty, it's important for us to all think about the questions that we ask, the idea that uncertainty in life is really the best soil for innovation, and that for us to move forward, we should be comfortable in this time of change and look at it as the planting bed for growth. So with that, Maria, I thank you for your time and helping us learn to thrive during uncertainty. And everyone, make sure to follow up with Maria if you'd like additional information.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.